Is there anything unusual going on? Is this different than the way we do other federal trials? Because the conspiracy folks were after us here at Court TV.
Vinny, it's a conspiracy. The courtroom sketch artist union is in cahoots with the feds. No, of course not. This is Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 53 that prohibits any type of cameras in any federal courtroom in the country. Judge Nathan has no discretion whatsoever, but congratulations to her. She was actually just nominated to be elevated to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. But what Bernardo said is absolutely right. The judge has allowed for plenty of overflow rooms, which typically they don't do, but in this case they have. So members of the public can go in there, they can watch the proceedings, but again, because of those federal rules, no one can video, take pictures in any federal trial in this country. And turning to the actual testimony, again, I agree with Bernardo. It's what we expected to see in this case. Defense attorneys are going to do what they always do when it comes to victims of sex abuse. They're going to attack them on multiple grounds, right? The first was, obviously, at some point, this is the psychology of abuse. They have a relationship with their abuser, and she was cross-examined on the "You Rock My World" note that she wrote to Epstein. Then there's always the lack of a contemporaneous report. Jane's report was after Epstein died. There's cooperation with the feds. That's something defense attorneys always go after. And of course, those civil settlements. Defense attorneys love that. They think this is all about money and a money grab. But I think she did an outstanding job today. She's, of course, going to be one of 4 victims who testify, 3 of which form the basis for the charges. And I fully expect Maxwell to be convicted. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that conviction live here on Court TV, but I'm sure we'll be covering it.
That the defendant is taking the stand?
It does, Vinny. You have to prepare for that vigorous cross-examination. Jurors love police officers. I don't care if the political climate has changed. So this case is going to rise or fall for the state of Minnesota on Kim Potter's testimony. So they better be ready. And I've seen a clear shift in criminal defendants testifying. And not only are they testifying, they're testifying at the beginning of the defense's case in chief. Before, the defense would sandbag, wait to see how the evidence plays out, put their client on last. But we saw it with Kyle Rittenhouse. He was one of the first witnesses. We're seeing with Elizabeth Holmes right now, the big fraud trial out of San Jose. So this is something that the newer age defense attorneys are doing, and something that we haven't seen when you and I were prosecuting cases.
Just heard from him, but I expect perhaps in front of the jury he'll do sort of the same thing, which was kind of an apology. Will anyone see that as a mitigating factor, what he just said?
Vinny, I don't know. I mean, if you believe in the death penalty, this is obviously a death penalty case. That was certainly Nikolas Cruz going off script, or certainly not something vetted by his attorneys. That real bizarre rant. He's talking about smoking marijuana and equating that to violence and racism. Never seen anyone become violent or racist for smoking marijuana. Then asking the parents of the victims to decide whether he lives or dies. Obviously, that's a jury issue. And this is shortly after, he was, coloring in the coloring book. Just a day or two before. So it's going to be a very interesting penalty phase. I expect him to take the stand and testify during that phase and say something similar. I don't know if the jury is going to have any sympathy for him, but as you mentioned, this is clearly someone who's not intelligent. He's not mentally well. He's certainly fit to stand trial, but I do give him credit, like you said, for pleading guilty and saving those families at least have to go through the guilt phase of this trial, because he's obviously guilty.
The federal government and the Supreme Court making a decision about this, and states doing it, should the justices be setting rules for abortions, or should each state set their own set of rules?
Well, I'm with Mike and Bernardo on this one. I think women should have the right to choose, and I understand the argument.
Who makes the rules, though? Who makes the rules? Like 16 weeks, 15 weeks?
The legislature makes the rules.
12 weeks.
Legislatures make the rules. So, but Roe says 24 weeks, and the Mississippi law is 15 weeks, and the Texas law is 6 weeks. So, you have completely different rules. There should be uniform. This is something that Congress, I don't think an amendment's going to happen, but they should legislate this at the federal level. Obviously not going to happen. And Vinny, I like predictions. I think Roe v. Wade will be overturned in the summer of 2022. I'm going on record right now. Writing
it down. Summer of 2022. And that's when this decision is supposed to come down. Great job tonight.